The smell of coffee and maple syrup was the scent of my perfect life. I stood at the stove, flipping blueberry pancakes while my 6-year-old daughter, Lily, practiced her spelling words at the kitchen island. My son, Noah, who was 8, was meticulously building a Lego spaceship on the floor. Sunlight streamed through the big bay window, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. This was the picture I'd worked my whole life to create. A home filled with light and noise and love. And at the center of it all was my wife, Sarah. She glided into the kitchen, her blonde hair still damp from the shower, and wrapped her arms around my waist from behind, resting her head on my back. "My hero," she murmured, her voice soft. "You always take care of us." I'm Daniel. I'm 38. For 12 years, I've been a husband, and for 8, a father. That's all I ever wanted to be. My own construction business was successful, but it was just a means to an end. The end was this. This kitchen. These sounds. Her. Sarah was my universe. Beautiful, charismatic, the life of every party. I was the steady, quiet foundation that held her brilliant light in place. We were a perfect balance. "Big presentation today, Dan," she said, grabbing a piece of bacon. "The Henderson account. If I land this, it's VP for sure. The bonus alone could pay for that kitchen remodel you've been designing for me." She kissed my cheek, her smile dazzling. "Wish me luck." "You don't need luck," I said, handing her a travel mug. "You've got this." I believed it. I was so proud of her. She'd gone back to work in marketing a few years ago, and she was a natural. Her ambition was a fire, and I was her biggest cheerleader, happy to handle the school runs, the packed lunches, the laundry, so she could soar. An hour later, the kids were at school and I was heading to a job site. I realized I'd left my good tablet at home, the one with all the architectural schematics for the Henderson project Sarah was pitching. I'd been reviewing them for her last night. I turned the truck around. The house was quiet when I entered. I went to the home office we shared to grab the tablet. As I picked it up, I noticed Sarah's personal laptop was still on, something that never happened. She was fanatical about her battery life. A notification from a messaging app one didn't recognize was flashing on the screen. The preview text was visible. "Can't wait to see you crush it today. After, we'll celebrate properly." Our usual spot. "P.S. Did you finally tell the babysitter you're leaving?" The word babysitter was in quotes. A cold, sharp shard of ice lodged itself in my chest. My hand, moving on its own, hovered over the trackpad. My heart was a frantic drum against my ribs. With a trembling finger, I clicked. What I saw there, in those messages, didn't just break my heart. It atomized my entire world. It was a 2-year-long conversation with a man named Marcus, her boss. It was graphic, demeaning, and detailed a plan they had been executing for months. The plan to make her VP, secure the massive bonus, and then, once the money was in her account, for her to leave me, file for divorce, and take the kids. They referred to me as the babysitter and our home as the daycare. My life's work, my love, my devotion, reduced to a punchline in their secret affair. The room tilted. I stumbled to the bathroom and vomited. When I could breathe again, I looked in the mirror. The face of a fool stared back. But then, something else surfaced. A cold, hard clarity I hadn't felt since I was a young man laying the foundations for my first building. You don't build on sand. You survey the land. You test the soil. You ensure it can bear the weight of what you're about to construct. And I was about to construct her ruin. I went back to the laptop. I didn't react. I didn't type a word. I simply took out my phone and photographed everything. Every message. Every plan. Every vile joke at my expense. Then, I closed the laptop exactly as I found it. That night, when Sarah came home, glowing, announcing she'd nailed the presentation, I hugged her. I told her I was proud. I smiled. She expected a dutiful, oblivious husband. I gave her the performance of a lifetime. Because in that moment, I knew. Her secret was now my weapon. They thought I was just the babysitter. They were dead wrong. The betrayal was so much deeper than just sex. It was financial. It was maternal. It was a calculated, long-term deception. Marcus wasn't just her lover, he was her partner in crime. The VP role was a stepping stone they were using to embezzle from the company through inflated marketing budgets and fake vendor accounts. Their plan was to siphon off enough to set themselves up for life before bailing. And my children. My beautiful, innocent children. In their messages, they discussed how my over-involvement as a father would make it easy for her to get primary custody. He can have them every other weekend, she'd written. It's more than he does now, anyway. She was planning to use my devotion as a weapon against me, to paint me as the absentee father while she was the high-powered career woman. The accomplice was her boss, Marcus. The weapon was the trust and freedom I had given her. But Sarah, in her arrogant, dismissive contempt, had made a fatal miscalculation. She saw me as simple. A construction guy. A babysitter. She forgot that before I built homes, I built businesses. And before that, I was the kid who put himself through college fixing computers. I understood digital foundations as well as I understood concrete ones. While she and Marcus were celebrating their impending coup, I began my silent, meticulous demolition. I accessed our shared financial records. I found the separate bank account she'd opened 6 months ago, the one where her bonus was destined to go. I cloned the hard drive of her laptop, giving me a live window into every message, every email, every plan they made. I used keylogger software to capture her passwords. I discovered the fake vendor invoices she and Marcus had already begun to submit. I found the shell company Marcus had set up in his brother-in-law's name. They were so confident, so sloppy, leaving a digital trail a mile wide. But the most powerful weapon wasn't on her computer. It was in our safe. Our prenuptial agreement. We'd signed it when we were young and in love, a document that seemed silly at the time. But my lawyer, an old family friend, had insisted on one specific clause: in the event of divorce due to infidelity, the wronged party receives full physical custody of the children and 75% of all marital assets. Sarah had laughed and signed, never believing her babysitter would have the spine to use it. Now, it was the cornerstone of my revenge. I compiled everything: the messages, the financial fraud, the custody plan, the prenup clause, into a single, devastating portfolio. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. First, I had to make sure her new world was fully built, so she could feel the full force of it collapsing on top of her. The day the Henderson bonus cleared her secret account, a whopping $150,000, was the day I made my move. I requested a meeting with her and Marcus at her office, under the guise of discussing home renovation plans for our new future. I needed to be on their turf. I walked into the sleek, glass-walled office. Sarah was behind her desk, looking every inch the powerful executive. Marcus stood nearby, oozing a smug, patronizing charm. "Dan. This is a surprise," Sarah said, a hint of annoyance in her voice. "Is everything okay with the kids?" "The kids are fine," I said, my voice calm. I placed a single, unmarked manila envelope on her desk. Marcus chuckled. "What's this, buddy? More blueprints?" "In a way," I said, locking eyes with Sarah. "It's the demolition plan. For your life." Her smile vanished. She ripped open the envelope. Inside was not the full dossier, but a selection of the most damning message printouts, including the one about the babysitter, and a copy of the prenup with Clause 12 highlighted in yellow. Her face went from confused, to shocked, to sheer, unadulterated terror. Marcus leaned over to look, and his smugness evaporated, replaced by panic. You've been spying on me?" Sarah whispered, her voice trembling. "No," I replied softly. "I've been auditing you. Think about the fake invoices, Sarah. Think about the shell company. My file on your little embezzlement scheme is very, very thorough. I'd start thinking about your defense. Both of you." I turned and walked out, leaving them in a silence so profound I could hear the hum of the server room down the hall. The foundation of their new world had just been declared condemned. She came home that night like a hurricane, all tears and fury. "How dare you," she screamed, throwing the envelope at me. "You violated my privacy. You're a monster." This was the anger. I stood my ground, silent. When I didn't react, she shifted to manipulation. Her tears became real. "Daniel, please. It was a mistake." Marcus pressured me. "He's been manipulating me for years. I was scared. I never meant to hurt you. We're a family. Think of Lily and Noah." She reached for me, but I stepped back. "Don't," I said, my voice like iron. "Don't you dare use their names to try and save yourself. You were going to use them as pawns. You were going to give me every other weekend." The truth of that hit her like a physical blow. She crumpled, beginning to beg. "Please, Dan, I'll give you the money. I'll break it off with him. We can go to counseling. We can fix this." "There is no fixing this, Sarah," I said, my voice cold and final. "You didn't just break our vows. You planned to systematically destroy my life and take my children. You saw my love as a weakness. You were wrong. It's my strength. And it's the reason you've already lost." I handed her another document. It was a temporary custody order, granted by a judge that afternoon, giving me full physical custody of Lily and Noah, based on the evidence of her plan to abscond. She looked at the paper, then back at me, and the finality of her situation dawned on her. Her entire world, the husband, the kids, the house, the illicit career, was gone. She had nothing. "You've ruined me," she sobbed, sinking to the floor. "No, Sarah," I said, looking down at the woman I once loved. "You provided the blueprint. I just followed it. Telling the kids was the hardest thing I will ever do. I sat them down and simply said that Mommy and Daddy loved them very much, but we wouldn't be living together anymore, and they would be staying with me. Lily asked if it was because Mommy worked too much. I just held her tight. My parents, who had always adored Sarah, were devastated. But their support was unwavering. "We always knew you were the rock of that family," my father said, his hand on my shoulder. "We just didn't know the rock was carrying the entire mountain." Sarah's parents were horrified. They came to see me, tears in their eyes, apologizing for their daughter. They didn't disown her, but the disappointment was a wall between them. They chose to stand by their grandchildren, and by extension, me. Sarah, in her desperation, tried to justify her actions to friends, claiming I was emotionally neglectful and that she felt trapped. But her story fell apart the moment anyone saw the evidence of her cold, calculated plan. The collapse was total. I presented the evidence of the embezzlement scheme to the company's board. Marcus was fired on the spot and faced criminal charges. Sarah, as his accomplice, was also terminated and blacklisted in the entire industry. The $150,000 bonus was seized. The divorce was swift. The prenup was enforced. I received primary custody of our children, the house, and the vast majority of our assets. The embezzlement scandal meant she was also liable for her own legal fees, wiping out what little she had left. Marcus, facing prison, turned on her, providing even more evidence of her willing participation in exchange for a lighter sentence. The man she betrayed her family for abandoned her to save his own skin. She was left alone, unemployed, unemployable, and living in a small apartment, her reputation in ashes. I didn't just keep the life we had, I rebuilt it into something better, something real. The house is still filled with light and noise, but now it's also filled with peace. I expanded my business, building a dedicated wing for designing and constructing safe, beautiful family homes. The irony wasn't lost on me. The poetic justice was perfect. The prenuptial agreement she'd scoffed at became her financial ruin. The secret bank account meant for her escape funded our children's college funds. The babysitter was now the undisputed head of the household, respected and thriving. Today, my life is not a performance. It's authentic. My children are happy and secure, knowing they are loved unconditionally. The silence in my house is no longer filled with lies, but with the genuine, quiet contentment of a safe harbor. I learned that the most devastating revenge is not a loud, dramatic explosion. It's a quiet, structural demolition. You don't burn the house down. You carefully remove the load-bearing walls of deception and watch as the whole structure, built on a foundation of lies, collapses under its own weight. Her secret was supposed to be her freedom. It became her prison. And I was the architect. And as for her future? Let's just say the sentence for betraying your family is a life term. She's just beginning to serve it. If you've ever been underestimated by someone who swore they loved you, share your story of resilience below. And subscribe for more tales of those who quietly, methodically, rebuilt their world from the rubble.